Hello, friends. Welcome to today's show. Founder and Chief Engagement Officer of Dr. Helen Holton and Associates, and your host for Dr. Helen Speaks: Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. It is good to be here with you today. Every day that I have the opportunity to be here with you is a good day. I do enjoy our time together. And as we continue on this path of lifelong learning, because that's really what we're here to do, I want you to know it brings joy to the day, and it's the number one goal, for me at least, to add value to you and your life as a leader whenever you tune in. Yes, so that counts for replays. If this isn't the live, it's the replay. It's all good, and we're glad that you're here. Hopefully you'll walk away with more than what you came. As a lifelong learner, that's what I am. I admit it. But as a lifelong learner, I really have a firm commitment to invest time and energy to bring you relevant information, to increase your knowledge, to help take your leadership to the next level. It's the number one reason I keep showing up. I learn in what I'm looking to bring forth to you, the culmination of my experiences and knowledge. It doesn't thrill me unless I can give it away, share it with the world, with you. So that's why I'm here, to help you be the better leader you know yourself to be. One of the most significant lessons I've learned is that the most effective leaders are lifelong learners. Who you learn from matters. It does. The more you invest in you, by choosing, and it is a choice, to learn and expand who you are as a leader, strengthens your leadership. And if it strengthens your leadership, it is sure to land with impact on the people you lead and those that follow you, which you may not know the magnitude of what that is. How do I know this? I've helped make it happen by working with more than 500 leaders, teams, and organizations, locally and globally, over the years. Continuing professional growth and development is the fuel that propels your leadership forward. How you show up makes a difference in your ability to equip and empower those you lead. And it's essential not only to your success, but to theirs. That's really like your legacy, how you impart from your wisdom and knowledge to help them to grow and develop. Which means, here's another true nugget, that no one can do what you do better than you. And I'm here to encourage you, to keep you wanting to invest in you, to be the best leader that you can be. And that's the why for Dr. Helen Speaks, why this show exists, is to show up here to help you do you better. Do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? On purpose? With intention? Now, this is more than a simple yes/no question. It really is. It's a question full of potential to keep you thinking, growing, and moving toward your best life ever, and doing what brings you fulfillment, joy, and meaning in your life, and what you're here for to do in the world. Oh, what could be sweeter than that? And the good thing about all of this is that now, I'm no scientist, nor am I one that's really that, it's not who I am, not really. However, science keeps recording and reporting on the value of positive, repetitive practices that make a difference and add value to your life. And if it adds value to your life, woo, it's adding value to your leadership. That's the stuff that stimulates your mind, captures your attention. How do you focus on what you do best every day? By being intentional, being present to the knowledge and wisdom that often lives louder in your subconsciousness. Like actions speak louder than words. A bird in the hand beats two in the bush. Or you can't judge a book by its cover. The sayings you've grown up with, you've heard them long before you even knew what they were or what they meant. You heard them. Where did they come from? Who knows? There's so many authors who want to take credit for these age-old wisdoms. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The more you commit time for your regular reflection on the truths that you hold, that shape your actions, make a difference. And so I've thrown out a few, we'll go over some more. I want you to start thinking about what are those messages you heard early on in life that still influence your actions and how you show up. That's rich. That's what we're talking about, leadership and wisdom. And the more you spend a little bit of time looking at making those connections, it moves you that much closer to your shift, your transformation, where you really experience and take in what you've been working towards, that greater alignment for you and your vision of what you want to achieve and what you want for your life and your leadership. Give yourself permission right now to let go and be fully present in this moment, to think deeper, be more intentional, and do something. That's the TBD effect. Do something. That action to move closer to your goals. TBD. Think, be, do. Write that down. Next time you see those letters, just give some thought to, what am I thinking about? What do I want to be? What am I going to do with it? What will you do to take action with the value you gain from today? Because if it matters to you, it matters to me too. We welcome your sharing, your feedback. It helps us continue to feed forward for you. I'm here because of you. And our purpose is to motivate, inspire, and help you engage deeper with the vision you hold for your today and your tomorrow. Because it's not promised, but I promise you this, if you don't do something to plan for it, it'll sneak up on you, take you by surprise, and you'll wonder, how'd I miss it? Yes. Your future begins right now, right here. And everything you want is waiting, just waiting to be birthed, nurtured, or developed into existence. That's the path of transformative work that I have the privilege and honor to engage in every day, with life-changing results, working with leaders just like you. So thank you. Now, before we jump in, you know the drill. Grab something handy to capture your thoughts, questions, ideas, whatever you want to talk about in the afterwards. And I don't want you to miss them. Take advantage of this time we have together. Make it count for you. So today's topic is leadership and wisdom. I thought about this. I can't think what it was at the moment, but it was what came up is one of those pieces of age-old wisdom. What is age-old wisdom? They're traditional or proverbial expressions or phrases that have been passed down through generations. They typically convey something that gets an aha or, well, that makes sense. And they're cultural insights there's some things that you can say that, depending upon the part of the world you grew up in or lived in when you first heard it, it really fits there. But as you expand your cultural competence and experience other cultures, you'll find that some things that might work great at home don't necessarily work in other places. However, there are quite a few of age-old wisdoms that are universal and cross-cultural, timeless truth. They've stood the test of time and are still used in multiple contexts to impart wisdom or advice or safety or growth or aha moments. Like I said earlier, think about it. Actions speak louder than words. When's the last time you actually sat and thought about, what does that mean? How does that resonate in my mind? What does it mean for your leadership? Actions speak louder than words. Reminds me of a saying that came to me many years ago when I was studying for the CPA exam. And I know it's a piece of age-old wisdom. And when I say it, you're going to be like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you'll probably know what it's inferring. He would say in response to someone responding to something he said, well, it's as if I've asked you the time and you're telling me the weather. Great statement. And it demonstrates the value of communication. Not just speaking, but listening. Are you really hearing what's being said, or are you more focused on your response to what you're listening to somewhat? How about this one? Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Yes, yes, yes. Which goes well with the bird in the hand beats two in the bush. Sometimes a sure thing makes all the difference in the world, but what sure thing do we really have? And so it speaks to a deeper sense of, if fortune falls your way, don't go blow it all because you think it's going to last forever. Or, what is it? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. What happens if you drop the basket? Age-old wisdoms that I want you to begin to think of circumstances in your life when these really show up and make sense for you. Here's a good one. And some of these really do take you down a path of looking at yourself or what you're engaged in with your team in real ways that impact your ability to be an effective and successful leader. You can't judge a book by its cover. Think about the opportunities you may have missed simply because you allowed yourself not to get beyond the surface of what you saw or perceived. Time, trusted treasures. Every cloud has a silver lining. Great when you think about, what does it mean to be resilient? That you can say, well, you know what? I might be down, but I'm not out, because I'm able to consciously think about, okay, I'm someplace I don't want to be, but you have a choice. Will you rise to the occasion? Will you remember, yeah, somewhere there's a way out, when you have a sense that every cloud has a silver lining? There are a lot of these that, as leaders, we don't always make the connection to them, to how we're leading, but they become great opportunities to improve communication or to help others that you're working with collaboratively, that you're leading, that are colleagues, whatever the case may be, that brings you closer together than further apart. Like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Interesting. As I'm a budding world traveler, I find it just, I'm so full of curiosity to be in a different culture, a different environment. And I'm always looking to see how I can embrace and engage that culture that I'm in. I can't change who I am. However, I can change how I choose to confront and take on a new experience. Yeah. How about haste makes waste? Age old wisdom doesn't have to be made up with a whole lot of words. That's one of the beauties of it. It's easy to remember, and it makes a lot of sense when you recall it. Haste makes waste. Mhm. Here's a goodie. Now, for me, this one really goes back to childhood. Mhm. Don't cry over spilled milk. And it actually learned it over spilling milk. Dropped my bowl of cereal, had to deal with the cleanup. And in that process, there was more milk. Well, there's nothing I can do about the spilled cereal bowl on the floor. It's done. So age-old sayings, oftentimes they come into being through a combination of factors, as you can see, and their ability to last through time is due to their usefulness, the simplicity of making what could be an embarrassing or frustrating or even a opportunistic moment more relatable. They originate, how do they come into being? They come into being in multiple ways. And how they come into being is a little bit about what helps them to continue to be relevant even as time goes on and life changes. Observation and experience. Yes. What is the saying? Experience is the best teacher. Well, in a lot of cases it is, but not all. And so it's important to understand how and when you use these, which expands and grows your leadership, being able to meet a situation or condition with an employee or an organization, and to say a few words that convey a much deeper meaning or a sense of engagement. Think of it as phrases that accentuate your ability to tell stories. And storytelling is one of the, it's probably like the top way to help people remember and retain important information or experiences or things that are going to move you forward. Mhm. And people notice these recurring patterns and observations, and they become concise phrases that pass on. Now, some of them have changed over time, not dramatically, maybe shifting with generational shifts to make it theirs. I don't know. Random thought there. Anyway, observation and experience. Here's another way: cultural wisdom. There are things that I grew up with in a Black culture in an urban city that just became relevant. Of course, now that I'm saying that, I'm like, what's a good one? Well, we'll keep going. It'll come back. Oh, well, what it does make me think of is, here we go. Now, I know I grew up with this, and my friends and other relatives, we knew what this meant. Why would you put that food in the trash can? You know, there are children in Africa that are starving. Oh my goodness. Well, as a child, you'd want to say, well, they can have my share. However, as I grew into that, it made me less wasteful, which today is a very popular belief, especially with young people. So cultural wisdom can begin in one culture, but it has the ability to transcend the culture to which you, it became a part of what you knew that made sense. Another way that helps these survive the test of time is memorability, which most that you remember that come to mind, they're short and easy to remember, which makes them easy to pass on to others. In the Black community, it's like a lot of our history is oral history that was passed down by storytelling. And so this memorabilia, this ability to memorize and to keep it close by, also helps to make it last. So just think about those things. Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, how those messages managed to continue to be passed down to help others to freedom. And then there's universal applicability, those age-old sayings. I remember being really frustrated over something, and my dad said 3 words to me that stick with me today. And the longer I live, the more profound they become because they still have power and impact. You ready? Nothing fast lasts. For a man who, in many respects, was a man of few words, he had some really good few words, and that was 3 of them. Age-old wisdom comes into being and gets to stick around because of adaptability. Nothing fast lasts, whether you heard it 100 years ago or whether you heard it, I don't know, 2 days ago. Doesn't matter much because you heard it and it's out there. But that's people over time. As I was saying, with Gen Zs, it has as much bearing as it does with traditionals. These statements, these words that make up age-old wisdom also are phenomenal teaching tools. They serve to help you better grasp life lessons or to hand down to young people. And I think a lot of, when you think back, how much age-old wisdom did you hear as a child? And you heard it and you knew what it meant in that moment as a child, but as you got older, you realized it really had deep roots to it that just get deeper as you live longer. So teaching tools, how you pass them down to your children. Well, for me, my godchildren, village children, your subordinates, your team that you've built to go on this wonderful journey of leadership with. Yes. Oral tradition. So many of these sayings, I would surmise that there are sayings out there that were out there before people really had the wherewithal to write or read. I know it's true for the African American experience in America, coming as slaves in a foreign land. Yeah. And so many of them also just stick because when you hear them, they resonate with you really deep within, which is very powerful because it's calling on something deeper within you to say, to hold on to it and know that it has value and purpose for your life. And whatever your pursuits are, you hold on to it. Which really brings us back around to intentional leadership. Intentional leadership is deliberate, it's driven, on purpose, with purpose, to lead and influence others out of your wheelhouse of knowledge to what you're bringing forth. That, by the way, no one can bring what you bring better than you. And the more you invest in it, the better able you are to bring it, for it to be your mark, that piece of something that someone's going to grab onto and run with. Yeah, it's your message, your legacy. Leadership and legacy just kind of go together for me. However, intentional leadership shows up in you as a leader when you're self-aware of who you are. At your best, at your worst, yes, because we all have a side that's not our best side, okay? And it's important that you know when you show up, or if someone points that out to you, before you dismiss it, you're willing to consider. I don't see it, but the fact that someone else has said it, let me check myself. Goal-oriented. Leadership calls for making conscious choices that are not always easy choices to make. However, no one ever said the path to leadership was easy, but it is rewarding. Think of it as leadership on purpose. You have a choice. You don't have to be. You can always bow out and say, oh, thanks, but no thanks. However, if you've taken it on to be intentional in your leadership, integrating age-old wisdom into your leadership helps you to reinforce important values. It guides, helps you be a better captain of the ship you guide, your team, and promote a culture of continuous learning and growth to touch people. At the end of the day, people want to know they belong, and using age-old wisdom as metaphors to convey, to communicate in ways that can reach someone beyond the immediate, okay, this is what we've got to do. Here's the plan. We've got to lay these things out and make them happen. Has a way of sometimes humanizing with just a few words to get people to understand what's at the root, at the purpose of what you're doing. And you're sharing great leadership tools with them. Age-old wisdom helps you be more intentional. And if I had to sum it up in one word, I'm going to go with communication. It gives you another way to connect, communicate, and to, create a deeper sense of community so that people can feel seen and heard. And it could be somewhat nostalgic as well. We're going to continue this because there's a lot more to talk about age-old wisdom that I knew was going to be more than what one show was going to get us to. So hold tight. We're going to come back with more on that, because I'm going to use this last minute for my super shout out, my shameless shout out, and love for the team that fuels the steam of Dr. Helen Speaks. Thank you. Welcome guest, because we do all of that for you. because you're worth it and so much more. And we're very intentional about that because our purpose is to bring you insightful and intriguing information to help drive your leadership to the next level. So when you ask yourself, what keeps you moving forward from here to what's next? Dr. Helen Speaks. Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Win-Win Women Network. If you miss us live, you can always catch the replays and go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Helen Holton. Then you can pick and choose the ones you want to capture. You might want to combine some with the other or whatever, who knows? The bottom line is this: we're here for you. And we always look forward to seeing your face on Dr. Helen Speaks: Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership, for sure.